Have you ever walked into a room and felt that the atmosphere changed without you saying a single word? Have you noticed people averting their gaze, conversations being interrupted, forced smiles hiding discomfort? Have you ever found yourself wondering, why do I always seem to be misunderstood? Or worse, am I too much for the world? If these questions have touched your heart, know this. This video is for you. Perhaps what you carry is not a burden, it is a calling. Perhaps your intense and silent presence does not cause people to distance themselves because it is wrong, but because it is too real for a world accustomed to masks. Your silence is uncomfortable because it reveals. Your gaze weighs heavily because it sees. Your energy arrives before you do, and when it arrives, those who live by appearances retreat. And that chosen one is not rejection. It is impact. Before we continue, pause for a moment and comment below. My presence speaks before me. This phrase is not just a symbol, it is a spiritual affirmation. And if you feel that these words touch something deep within you, subscribe to the channel now. Because what is about to be revealed is not just an explanation, it is a mirror that will make your soul remember who you really are. You are not too much. You are truth in a world of performance. And when truth enters, falsehood is destabilized. Today, we will reveal why your aura, silent, steady, undeniable, shakes structures, why it attracts and also repels, and why this is not a flaw. It is your spiritual signature. Get ready, because what will be said next can transform your loneliness into a legacy. There is a sacred power in realizing that what the world called too much was never excess. It was essence. It was the pure force of your spirit refusing to be diluted. And if you've ever felt like you were born into the wrong family, the wrong time, or the wrong crowd, it's because you were. You were not sent here to blend in. You were chosen to awaken. You don't carry that inner fire by accident. And if the letter M or the shape of a crescent moon appears on your hands, then you've already been marked, chosen, set apart. And this message is yours. Your pain has never been random. Your loneliness has never been punishment. All of it was preparation, shaping you in silence, pulling you away not to isolate you but to preserve you. Because when a soul like yours walks this earth, it cannot walk unnoticed. It cannot pretend. It cannot live small. You were not created for comfort. You were made for impact. You've walked through storms that others didn't even see. You've healed from wounds that no one acknowledged. And yet here you are, still standing, still shining, still rising. That isn't weakness. That isn't oversensitivity. That's spiritual armor. And yes, it makes people uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your very existence reminds them of everything they've been hiding from. You see, your truth doesn't need a spotlight. It simply is. It breathes through your silence. It pulses through your energy. It shows up in your walk, your gaze, your peace. And while others may misread it as arrogance or coldness or mystery, what they're really sensing is the weight of someone who has faced themselves and survived. Someone who doesn't flinch in the mirror. Someone who doesn't need to be liked to know they are worthy. You are not too intense. You are not too distant. You are not too different. You are real, and in a world obsessed with the superficial, that alone makes you powerful beyond measure. There comes a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when spiritual power stops being something internal and becomes something felt, not explained, not argued, just sensed. And when that shift happens within you, the entire atmosphere around you begins to respond. You walk into a room and conversations stall, not because you interrupted, but because your presence awakened something. A frequency entered before you did. A truth without words. A vibration that cannot be ignored. This is when your power starts to reveal itself as presence. It's not something you do. It's who you are. A walking alignment. A living signal. You no longer speak to prove your worth. You exist, and that alone carries weight. You don't chase, because you understand that what's meant for you will recognize your energy. You don't fight to be seen, because your spirit makes you visible without effort. And while others are still busy building personas, you have become your truth. People don't react to your clothes. They react to your clarity. They're not startled by your tone. They're startled by your stillness. You don't perform for approval, and that's exactly why you command respect without asking for it. You've become a mirror, one that reflects what others refuse to see in themselves. And that's why some are drawn to you, only to retreat as if burned by something too real, too raw, too revealing. But don't mistake their discomfort for your defect. Don't shrink because they tremble. They are not rejecting you. They are confronting the unhealed places within them, and your presence is what brought those places to light. Not because you judged them, but because you didn't pretend with them. You didn't match their masks. You didn't play the game. You stood still, and in that stillness, truth echoed. And for many, that's too much. Let them feel it, because that's not arrogance. That's alignment, and what comes next will show you just how deeply your frequency is already changing everything around you, even if no one ever dares to say it aloud. You don't need to speak to be heard. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. When your aura reaches a certain frequency, your presence alone begins to communicate what words never could. And this is where most people start to feel it, even if they don't know what it is. There's a stillness about you that unsettles the noisy, a depth in your eyes that makes the superficial feel seen. You don't just enter a space, you shift it. People glance at you and quickly look away, as if they saw something they weren't ready to face. They fidget when you stand still. They search for words that suddenly feel too empty in your presence. Why? Because your silence isn't absence. It's amplification. It reflects back what's hollow. It calls forth what's hidden. And without even trying, your energy says, I see you. You carry that kind of vision. The kind that doesn't rely on eyes alone. The kind that pierces through performances and catches the soul underneath. People lie with smiles, but not with their energy. And you feel it. You know when something's off. You know when someone's pretending. Not because you're looking for flaws, but because your soul is trained in truth. It's allergic to falsehood, and that makes people uncomfortable. Because most have never been seen without a filter. They've never had to stand in front of someone who isn't playing along. Someone who doesn't flatter. Someone who doesn't need anything from them, and therefore cannot be manipulated. That someone is you, and so they call you intense, or intimidating, or mysterious. But that's not what you are. That's what you reflect. You reflect what's missing. You reflect what's real. You reflect what hurts to see, and what heals once it's acknowledged. That's why your silence speaks. That's why your gaze lingers in their memory. That's why they remember your presence long after you've left the room. Because it wasn't just you they encountered. It was the truth. And not everyone is ready for that. There's a kind of pull in you that you never asked for. A magnetic force that draws people in, fast, curious, almost spellbound, as if they've stumbled into something sacred but can't quite name it. They lean closer. They ask questions. They linger in your orbit, not because you said the right things, but because you feel like something they've been missing. And just as quickly, many of them back away. It's not rejection, it's recognition, followed by retreat. People are drawn to your light until they realize it exposes them. They crave your energy until it reflects their emptiness. You ignite something in others, even without meaning to, and that ignition is either an invitation or a confrontation. There is no in-between. They sense the calm in you, and it makes them restless. They sense your depth, and it drowns their shallow attempts at connection. They realize you don't seek attention, yet you attract it. You don't flatter, yet people feel seen. You don't try to impress, yet they can't forget you. And that unsettles everything they thought they knew about power, presence, and attraction. Because what you carry is not charm, it's frequency. It's not charisma, it's clarity. You don't pull people with seduction. You invite them with truth. And that truth has a weight most aren't strong enough to carry, so they come close, and then they vanish. They get a taste of the real, and then run back to what feels safe, even if it's fake. But this isn't your fault. This is the cost of being magnetic in spirit, but rare in energy. You are not made to keep everyone close. You're made to call people inward, to spark remembrance, to awaken what's sleeping inside them, even if they run from it right after. And yes, that hurts sometimes. The way they vanish without explanation. The way they seem captivated one moment and distant the next. But when your presence awakens, it also confronts them with a choice, evolve or escape. Most choose escape, but a few will rise. And those few, those aligned, awakened souls, are the ones your spirit is really calling. So don't lower your frequency to keep people near. Let your energy sort them out. You don't need to yell to command respect. You don't have to defend your peace out loud. Your aura already does it for you. It's in the way you walk, not rushed, but intentional. It's in the way you listen, not to reply, but to understand. It's in the way your silence says no more powerfully than most people's words. This is the shield your soul has forged, not from bitterness, but from clarity. Your energy creates invisible boundaries that others feel before they cross. They instinctively know what they can't get away with around you. They sense you won't tolerate disrespect, not because you said it, but because you embody it. You've done too much inner work to allow chaos to sit at your table. You've made peace too sacred to let someone else's drama invade it. And so, they say you're distant, or unapproachable, or too hard to get close to, but what they're really saying is, you don't let me violate you without noticing. And no, you don't. Not anymore. There was a time, maybe years, maybe decades, when you overgave, when you explained yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, when you tried to prove you were worthy by bleeding for those who wouldn't even offer a bandage. But those days are gone. Now your protection is quiet. It's graceful, but it's unshakable. You no longer confuse love with access. You don't equate kindness with permission. You've learned the difference between being open-hearted and being wide open. And in that difference, you found your strength, and yes, it intimidates. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Not because you're mean, but because you finally respect your soul more than their comfort. And here's the truth. When your aura becomes this refined, when your energy draws lines that don't have to be spoken, the ones who are used to crossing others without consequence will say, "You've changed." They're right. You have, and it's the best thing you've ever done. You no longer fit in rooms where gossip is the currency. You can't fake laughter at conversations that drain your spirit. You feel out of place when everything feels performative, hollow, rehearsed. It's not arrogance, it's resonance. You've simply outgrown the need to belong to spaces where your soul has to shrink. And the truth is, most people sense it before you even speak. They feel your detachment. Not as apathy, but as discernment. You're not cold. You're consecrated. You're not aloof. You're awake. You've tasted something deeper. You've touched the silence within, and now noise exhausts you. You've walked through fires that taught you to recognize what's real, and now pretense makes you itch. And so, people start to fall away, not because you pushed them, but because your frequency no longer holds space for small talk, shallow agendas, or false intimacy. You no longer chase friendships that are based on history rather than harmony. You don't force connection. You wait for alignment, and yes, that makes the path narrower, lonelier, but also holier. You begin to prefer your own presence over crowded rooms full of emptiness. You begin to guard your energy like treasure, because now you know it is. You know what it costs to rebuild after giving your light to people who only came to feed on it. And so now you protect it with grace. Your conversations have changed. You don't talk about people. You talk about purpose, about healing, about heaven, about legacy. Your spirit longs for depth, for truth, for resonance. And that's why the old world no longer fits. Not because you've become better, but because you've become honest. You can't lie to yourself anymore just to keep the peace. You can't sit at tables where your intuition has already left. You've left the echo chambers. You've stepped into clarity. And while many won't follow you there, the ones who do, they will meet you in truth. They will meet you in the light. They will meet you at the level of soul, because that's where you live now. There comes a moment when something inside you shifts forever. Not with noise, not with anger, but with a silent certainty that whispers, never again. Never again will you lower your standards just to be accepted. Never again will you dim your light to make others feel more comfortable in their shadows. Never again will you apologize for existing in your full, radiant, unapologetic truth. You've tried it before. You shrank to fit. You softened your voice. You second-guessed your instincts. You let people define your value. And for what? For peace that never came. For closeness that felt like captivity. For love that only lasted as long as you kept pretending to be less than you are. But now you know. The cost of shrinking is your soul, and you won't pay that price anymore. Because you finally understand the people who truly belong. In your life don't need you to be smaller. They need you whole. They need your truth. They need your presence, your light, your fire. Not the edited version, not the palatable version, the real you. So you've stopped chasing. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped watering yourself down so others won't choke on your intensity. If your light blinds them, they were never meant to walk beside you. If your frequency overwhelms them, they weren't tuned in to your path. This is not pride. It's protection. It's the sacred boundary that forms when a soul finally remembers its worth. And from this place, you begin to walk differently. Not just with confidence, but with clarity. Not just with strength, but with softness. The kind of softness that bends, but never breaks. And yes, some people will fall away. Let them. Let them fall, because you are no longer shrinking to be seen. You are standing to be felt, and those who are meant for you will never ask you to be less. They will rise to meet you in your fullness, or they will watch you rise from afar. No one warns you that awakening comes with silence, that the more real you become, the fewer people you'll feel truly connected to, that when you strip away the masks, the roles, the performances, what remains is not always company, but clarity. A clarity so pure, so cutting, that it separates not just what you do from what you don't, but who you are from who you've outgrown. And that's when the sacred loneliness begins. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being unloved, but the kind that comes from being unduplicated, unmatched, misunderstood. You walk through life carrying a frequency so rare, so refined, that many can't hear it. And so they label you distant, detached, too different. But it's not that you've turned away from them. It's that you've turned toward your truth. There are nights when that truth feels heavy, when the silence is loud, when you crave just one soul who sees you without needing you to shrink. But then, in that same silence, something sacred begins to rise. A deeper peace, a deeper strength. A knowing that solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. Because solitude teaches you to be sourced from within. It teaches you to hear your own voice in the absence of noise. It teaches you to stand on the sacred ground of your own energy. And know, this is enough. I am enough. The world may not always understand you, but you were not sent here to be understood. You were sent to be felt, and those who are meant to walk with you, they won't fear your solitude. They'll honor it. They'll recognize it as the soil where your roots were grown, the temple where your spirit was rebuilt, the sanctuary where your purpose was made clear. So if you are in that season now, the quiet, the waiting, the echo of your own voice, do not fear it. This is the space where warriors are formed, where prophets are shaped, where chosen ones are refined, and your rising is closer than you think. You were never too bright, you were never too deep, you were never too much. The world just wasn't ready for someone who reminds it of the truth. And this is the breaking point, the awakening. The moment your soul stops asking for permission and begins to radiate, not to impress, but to impact. Not to be accepted, but to awaken. Not to be liked, but to be known by the right ones. Because your light isn't a mistake. It's a message. And that message wasn't given to you for decoration. It was given to you for disruption, to shake systems, to heal wounds, to expose lies, to call others out of sleep. And that, chosen one, will never be comfortable. It was never meant to be. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to keep the peace at the cost of your presence. You are not here to fit in places that suffocate your truth. You are here to break patterns, raise frequencies, and remind people of who they are before the world made them forget. And, yes, some will resist you. They'll accuse, they'll project, they'll misunderstand. Let them. Because none of it changes the truth. You were sent to carry something sacred. You were sent to walk in a light that doesn't flicker just because others squint. You are the mirror. You are the shift. You are the flame. And to anyone who still doubts it, say it now, aloud or in the comments. I am not too much. I am exactly enough. I am the shift. I am the light that awakens. This is more than affirmation. This is recognition. Let the world feel your light, and let the ones who can't handle it fall away like shadows at sunrise. If you've made it here, to this final breath of the message, then hear this with your spirit. It is not a coincidence. It is confirmation. You didn't find this video, it found you. Because your soul was ready. Ready to remember what it always knew, but the world tried to bury. You were never made to walk among the many. You were always meant to carry the frequency that few could handle. And now, it's time to stop apologizing for that. Your aura is not noise, it is alignment. Your intensity is not a flaw, it is focus. Your isolation was never emptiness, it was elevation. You are not broken, you are becoming. You are not misunderstood. You are misplaced among the asleep, but the time for shrinking is over. It's time to step forward with full presence, full clarity, full light, knowing that yes, some will leave, some will resist, some will talk. But the ones who are meant for you will feel you, rise with you, and never ask you to be less. Because those who carry this kind of energy, this kind of divine fire, weren't sent here to survive. They were sent here to lead. So here's what you do now. Comment below. I no longer shrink. I rise. This is not for engagement. It's a declaration, a signature in the spirit. And if this message touched a hidden place inside you, subscribe now. Not just to a channel, but to your own expansion, to your remembering, to your sacred mission. Because the world needs fewer filters and more of you. You were never too much. You were just born to awaken what others hide from. And now, the time has come. You are being revealed. Because the world needs your light. Now more than ever, it begins with you.